section of the sales conversation. What is a pitch? It's essentially they have a problem that in the discovery we help them uncover, and in the pitch you're providing a solution for them to actually move forward to solve their problem to get the outcome that they want. So in the pitch, here's some principles to actually live by. So typically what happens in the pitch is you want to have your go-to pillars, and when I say pillars, is basically the many things you're going to offering within that thing. So if you're going to offer like a quote unquote coaching program, there's different aspects of it, right? It could be the accountability. It could be that you're helping them with placing setters into their business, like whatever the thing is, right? Or you're helping them set up their online dating profile, whatever you sell. It's that individual thing. So typically you want to have your go-to pitch. Okay. You want to have about, on a typical, like a B2C or like a small business owner type of offer. Let's say you're one call closing, right? Or a quick triage. Let's say it's a 1 hour sales call and the offer price point is like anywhere between 5K, 10K, maybe even like 30K. But unless it's like enterprise level, then you just want to keep your pitch quite concise, around 3 to 5 minutes for something like that. The reason why is because if it's too short, then it's typically not concise enough. It's typically not enough details for them to actually move forward. They're going to be like, okay, so what is it exactly? And if it's longer than that, then they're going to be like, they're going to have too much information to process. And when you give them too much information to process, what happens? Oh yeah, you've given me too much to think about, so let me just go think about it. So we're going to keep it concise. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? And it needs to relate back. It's not a feature. You're not giving them the coaching call. You got to relate back to how does it help them get the outcome that they want, right? So a common mistake that people make is like, all right, cool, so you get coaching calls. Does that make sense? All right, cool, so we give accountability. That's good, but it's that example of, because I started copywriting, and copywriters are very smart people when understanding buyer psychology. And so typically when people buy a drill, they're not buying the drill to get the drill, right? So they're getting the drill so they can put the hole in the wall, but they don't want the hole in the wall. They want the hole in the wall so that they can put a nail there and hang around their family photo and actually feel that warm, fuzzy feeling in their stomach, right? So they don't want the drill. They don't want the hole. They want that feeling, right? They want that family photo. So that's a cliche marketing example. But whenever you're actually delivering a pitch and say, we're going to do this, then you got to relate back to, okay, how does it help them solve their problem? How does that thing help them get the outcome that they want? Okay. So let's go through the framework and we'll go through different examples. Okay. So what we've done so far here is early on, okay, we asked them, okay, so, what's our ideal criteria? And also in the problem, we have found out what their problem is, right? So from here, after the cost of inaction, all right, so based on what you tell me what we do, it work for you. So if you want, I can just walk you through what we do, how we do it, and help you get outcome. Want to do that? Help it become the son to retire our parents. Okay, want to do that? They're like, yeah. All right, cool. So we're going to work together for time frame. So typically it's like 90 days or 12 weeks. And the first one we're going to do is, and then you insert the first thing we're going to help them. Okay. Let's say, for example, it's like I used to sell e-com BizOp, right? So people on a 9 to 5, helping them start a Shopify store, like a dropshipping store to make more money, get out of their job. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to help you find a winning product that people actually want to buy. Because you know how you're saying earlier that you don't really know how to get started. You're not really sure what product to sell. And because of that, you're not able to start a business. They're like, yes. Yeah. So what we're going to help you do is actually with the exactly what winning product will land in the market right now, not what used to work 3 years ago, but right now. And then so that you can actually find a winning product and actually people want to buy so you can actually make profits. Does that make sense? They're like, yeah, that makes sense. So I just kind of like came off that on the fly because I don't remember what I used to do because that was like a while ago. But that's what you want to do. Okay. So if they told you, yeah, I don't know, in a biz op, you'll typically get that. Yeah, I don't know the step by step, right? So you can insert the step by step as your pillar number one, right? So the first step, we're going to help you do this. That way you can actually make money from that, right? Long story short. So you want to do it that way. And also bonus is if you can, and I learned this from Hormozy, is there's different reasons why people don't buy. So we got to look at the inverse of what people don't buy. And now we can actually flip that on our pitch, right? So if they feel like it's too much effort, if they feel like it's going to take too long, right? Or if they feel like it's not achievable or it's not worth it, they typically won't buy. right? So now in our pitch, we don't want to lie or we don't want to exaggerate, but if what you sell does help them with that thing, then you can actually insert that, right? So if you can lower their perceived effort, okay, if you can lower their perceived effort, meaning that it feels like less work and they can get them quicker, that's even better. For example, if you just if there's a done for you elements in what you sell, then you can insert that, right? So yeah, instead of you having to do the whole research yourself, we actually just find you the winning product, right? We just find you the winning product, and also we coach you on how to do that as well. So you get the best of both worlds. Now you get what's already working, and you can actually do it on your own as well. Does that make sense? They're like, yeah, that makes sense. So if you make it like lower, perceived lower effort, given that it's true, obviously, right? But it can't be just lower effort. They got to perceive it as lower effort. That's the most important part. Okay, so for whatever you sell, I used to also help a client with a dating offer. It was for guys that are trying to get more dates and get freaky in the bedroom, right? With more women from online dating apps. So one of the things we worked on, yes, the first thing we're gonna do is optimizing your dating profile. And how we do that, because you know how you told me earlier that right now you're not getting enough matches? Right. So that's because obviously your profile's not optimized. Girls not swapping right on you. So I'm gonna pair you up with a photographer that specializes in online dating profiles, and I'm gonna help you with the shopping process so you know exactly what clothes to wear. So all you gotta do, show up to the location, take the photos, and we're gonna hop on the coaching call together, and we're gonna assemble a dating profile together. That way you can start getting more matches. Doesn't make sense? They're like, that makes sense. That's such a good offer. That offer, it did quite well. In the first, I think, 7 calls, he closed 5 on a 5K offer. And prior to that, he's never sold. He's never done sales call before. Prior to that, he was only getting like referrals and shit. And mind you, that was a warm traffic, but yeah, he closed like 5 out of the first like 6 or 7, and then he did quite well. So that's the first step, right? And then the second step, third step, you just repeat it. Okay. So in that, let's say in that ecom example, for example, all right. So next thing we're gonna help you with is the coaching, because you know how another thing you said is because you don't know if you get questions, you don't want to get stuck, right? You tried some like courses before, but you couldn't get your questions answered, and because of that, you couldn't make money from your store, right? So we don't just throw you into the course and say adios, good luck. You can actually hop on the daily group coaching calls, okay, as well as the one-on-ones as well, where coaches look over your shoulders, tell you exactly what's wrong with your store, exactly what to do, so you don't have to keep banging your head against the wall and keep losing out on profit stuck in your cubicle. You with me? Yes, I'm with you. Right? So always going back to this is how we solve the problem. The coaching calls, they don't give a fuck about the coaching calls, right? But how does it help them solve their problem, get the outcome that they want? You don't have to bang your head against the wall. You don't have to keep losing profits. You don't have to keep losing out on money because you don't know what you're doing. We show you exactly what you're doing wrong, exactly what you're doing right, right? In the dating offer, it was the texting part, right? All right, next thing we're gonna work on is the texting, okay? Because another thing you mentioned is that when you do get matches, that girl's not responding back to you, you get ghosted, so you end up feeling a bit, I guess, a bit frustrated sometimes, right? They're like, yes. And also, that's another thing too I learned from Jeremy. When you say a little bit, when you minimize it, then it actually it maximizes the pain, right? So it's a little bit frustrated sometimes, minimizing it. Because if you say, yeah, it's really frustrating all the time, they'll be like, it's not that bad. So it's a psychology thing, okay? And then they'll be like, yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you my step-by-step texting script, my texting template that's proven to work, that our clients are using right now to get 3 to 5 days a week, okay? So you don't have to overthink. You just use it while still having an authentic conversation with the girl, which means that you can actually get the girl out, turn a match into a date within 24 to 48 hours. You with me? They're like, yeah. And then also we can hop on the coaching call and I can do the texting for you as well. And that offer, we actually did that as well. So I'll actually text the first 3 girls for you to get them out on a date, and I'll coach you on how to do it as well. Okay, so it's even better if there's some done for you elements in that offer. You can incorporate that as well, and then it's super powerful. And they'll be like, yes. All right, cool. Now, the third step we're going to help you with is you just insert whatever the thing is, right? So, again, depending on what you sell, what the dating offer, how we did that was, okay, the third step is I'm going to help you take a date into going home together. Okay. Because another thing you mentioned is like when you do get in a date is, you don't really know what to do. You run out of things to say, and she just kind of gives you like a hug, a tap on the back, and you never see her again. They're like, yeah. Yeah. So that's because you don't know what to do. So I'm going to be giving you my step-by-step date routine. So exactly what kind of bar or venue you want to take the girl out to, exactly what to say on the date while still having a good time, and how to, without feeling awkward, go home together with the girl. Okay, that way you guys have a good time together. You know what I mean? They're like, yes, right? And so when you do that, it's like, oh, like step by step. Okay, from here I'm getting stuck here, then I'm getting stuck here, then I'm getting stuck there, right? So whatever you sell, whether you sell biz op, fitness, whatever the thing is, for fitness, accountability is a very powerful pillar for the third one. Accountability in general is a pretty powerful one, especially in the coaching program, is because when you set accountability, and I'll show you how to do it. And the third thing is accountability. Okay, because you're mentioning earlier that sometimes like you kind of lose a bit weight, but then you end up procrastinating. You kind of like yo-yo diet, and like you feel a bit anxious about that, right? So the third thing we'll help you with is actual accountability, because we're not here to be friends with you. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear. We're going to tell you what you need to hear, so that you can actually lose that 30 pounds. But before we go any further, are actually open and willing to be held accountable to a higher standard, because not everyone is. You can even push them away. They'll be like, no, I am. Okay, but why? Because, if that's what I want, I don't want people to sugarcoat it, because if I don't, I'll never hit my goals. So the accountability frame, why that is powerful is because, especially in coaching program, when you set that as an accountability and they agree, yes, I'm being held accountable, in objection handling, it's a lot easier to be rougher on them, be more direct on them, because they already agreed they'll be held accountable. Right? So it can be like, hey, man, so you know how you're saying you're going to be held accountable? Like, it starts now. Right? Can I be more direct with you? Yeah. Well, and then you can start to reframe their fear and just like be more rougher on them. Right? Which is why accountability, especially in fitness, is very, very powerful. So you can use that. So, but you want to make it like very desirable, right? Given that it's true. So perceived lower effort, right? You don't want to make promises or guarantees. You don't want that. I've sold on offers where even there was a guarantee, and the prospect would ask me about the guarantee, but I wouldn't even use the guarantee and still close them, just because you could if it's there, I guess, and as long as it makes sense. But it's typically not my style. If it's like they're so on the fence and they need that little thing to like go forward, then like I would, but typically no, because like the common trait is like common pitfall is I'd hop on some sales calls and like some salespeople will be like, oh, dude, we have the guarantee, like we work with you for free until you hit the goal, and then the more you do that, it pushes the other person away. Be like, yeah, I don't know, right? And then after you go through the pillars, you briefly describe the deliverables, because here's the thing we help you with, but what's the deliverable? Is the course, is the coaching calls, like how does it work? Don't get into nitty gritty of like, hey, 2 p.m. Eastern time for 1 hour, none of that. Just be like, just briefly, and how it helps them achieve the outcome. So how it works is obviously you get the step-by-step course materials and exactly what to do, as well as the coaching calls, group and one-on-ones, so you don't get stuck. Okay? So does it all make sense with the structure we just laid out? So what we're doing here, I briefly talked about the deliverable, which is a feature. The course, right? The portal, that's a feature. They don't give a fuck about that. But what's the mini outcome from it is the step-by-step, you know exactly what to do. Okay? So it may not be them making 10 grand a month as like step-by-step exactly what to do. That's called a mini outcome. I learned it from copywriting. Yeah. And then the group coaching calls and the one-on-one coaching calls where we give you the feedback so you're not being out there being stuck. That's another mini outcome. And then you go right into, you tie off the buy-in. So does it all make sense with the structure we just laid out? They'll be like, yes. And do you feel like this could take you from where you are now to where you're wanting to go? They're like, yeah. Why is that? So typically the answer you get here is like yes or yes, but don't let them get to the but. As soon as they say yeah, oh, why is that? Immediately, because yes, but then we give a concern. You'd rather, because like when they give a concern, you'd be better off just like railing them through the price drop and then handle that as an objection, because otherwise you get caught up too much into the weeds and you don't even get to the price drop, right? So just like, yes, but why is that? They're like, oh, because, the coaching call, I really need that, da, da, da. Cool. Well, I don't really have anything else to go over with you. So the funds required for you to get numeric outcome and get tangible outcome is this amount. How do you want to proceed? So the funds required for you to get to 10K a month and retire our parents is 5K. How do you want to proceed? So you go through that. Okay. So use the pitch template, the framework, make a copy of this and start writing it for your offer. And feel free to post in the community for feedback or bring in the coaching calls. All right. Next training.